It's the next level.
Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
What is this? Why all the bells and bagpipes? Why not just blow it up and end the world yourself?
Well, that's cheating. You all have to play your part. Free will.
That's fun.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
This week we'll be discussing Preacher Season 4, Episode 10, End of the World, which is the series finale of Preacher.
That's it. Yep. This is a spoiler-full podcast. We're going to talk about this series finale. We're going to talk about the series as a whole. And so if you haven't watched it yet, I don't know what you're doing here. Come on. Just stop. Go watch the series finale. It's been a week, people. You should have already watched it, okay?
Or if you're actually listening to this and you just said, oh, I just want to watch the series finale and just go from there. I watched the first episode, now watch the last episode.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I thought this was really great. I love that. I think they did a great job. And we've been saying all along that we really want them to stick the landing. We want them to do a good job of ending this series, and I think they did. Oh,
definitely. They were awesome with when they ended this, and I think they had more than enough time to actually come to that, because of they were forewarned at certain point saying that they were going to end the series.
Yeah, I'm assuming they knew before this started, because there's things, and we'll get to this when we get to the episode itself, there's things that I realized during this watching of this episode of things that were set up early on in the season that was really cool, and it's in my top 5 because I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
But I will give a little synopsis of the episode. I love that they closed this out exactly the way we loved to have them close it out. We see this fight between Jesse and the Saint. We see that the angel and the demon parents of Genesis, they jump in, they intervene just in time. That gives Jesse enough time to, I think, kind of in his head, he kind of formulates a plan of what he's going to do. We see God join the audience in the Grail Amphitheater, which was really cool. Tulip enters Humperdoo's dressing room and has a confrontation with Cassidy, ending with Cassidy actually being the one who shoots Humperdoo. Then we see God escape. He tells Hairstar to run. And I think probably what I love the most about the episode, I didn't put this in my top 5, is that they didn't end the episode there. They could have ended the episode right there with God leaving and Hairstar running away. But they didn't. They give us some more things. They have Jesse send out the Grail to go find God. He uses the Genesis voice. Then we get these multiple epilogue endings that give us an outstanding wrap up of all of our characters. So we even see Jesus there at the very end. And so I think it's great that we get these wrap ups of all these characters, and they also leave a couple of spots where if they want to do something in the future, if they're able to get this cast back together, that they could do a couple of things here in the future with this world. So I'm very pleased with how they ended.
Oh, same here. I love the way, and like you said, we had closure at certain points with a lot of characters between Jesse, Tulip, Cassidy, or even Jesse Jr., if you think about it. And on top of that, Jesus, Eugene, the Scene of Killers, and the Angel and the Demon at that too, as well as Flufferman.
Unfortunately.
And Hairstar.
Yep.
And Hairstar. Oof. All right, we'll get into that, and
we'll get into that with our top 5s.
And we'll start our top 5 now.
Make it day. Make it night.
I'll go first if you like.
Yeah, I'll go first.
So my number 5 would be Cassidy killing Humperdoo. It was sad to see, but the struggle for him to do it, that was intense. That is why it's my number 5. Even though he is a vampire, he still feels for people, and he knew he had to do what was right deep down. And you could see the turmoil in him when he had to do it, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes now because this was actually within my top 5 as well. And Joseph Gilgun plays that so well that you see he has that fight with Tulip, and you see just the struggle on his face, not just before he does it, but after he shoots him. And the fact that we hear Humperdoo, even Humperdoo knows what's coming, because he sees the gun and he says, "To the moon," and he doesn't even get the whole word out before Cassidy shoots him. And you just see this look on, and like I said, Joseph Gilgun played it so well that we just see what I can't think of the word, the emotion on his face of how, he talks about how this guy was the innocent. He was the best part of all of us, and we had to kill him.
Yeah.
And you just see that really breaks Cassidy, and I think that sets him up for why his story closes out the way it does, is because he just can't ever go back to being with Jesse and Tulip because of this thing that he had to do. So yeah, I totally agree. It could have been a number 1 if we were naming him that way, like an order of importance, because there's just so much that happened in this episode.
Oh, big time. And to me, honestly, it was a number 5 basically because of the sadness of it. It would be my number 1, but the only thing is that you really felt for it, and it was very important to the actual episode. I love the character of Cassidy, and he has gone through so much as a character over these 4 seasons. It's amazing.
Yeah, my number 5 was the Angel and the Demon showing up when they did, and right on time to save Jesse, as I talked about in this synopsis. And one of the things that I realized on, I think it was about the second viewing of it, that this dawned on me, that I wonder if all that fighting they were doing throughout the episode was really in preparation for this fight, was just practice and getting ready to fight. Because, we saw a little bit of their fight the first time, but then every time we come back to them, they're fighting each other. And except for, like you said last week, when they're transporting people to Masada. Mm-hmm. So it was really, as I started to think about that, the fact that, like, the angel, the saint fires his gun, and we've seen him shoot angels before, but the angel just and he knocks the bullet out of the sky with his sword, and you go, whoa. And so that really made me think, and it gave Jesse all of that time to prepare what he was going to say and how he was going to deal with the saint. And then, of course, when we see the saint go to his knees and Jesse slit his throat, I was a little confused, because I was like, wait a minute, how did we get to that point? And then, of course, it's not till the end of the episode that we find out that he was on his knees giving his confession so that Jesse could absolve him, and then he could go to heaven. And so it's an interesting, and I want to credit the writers, because it's something that they showed us a little bit of the saint's confession, but they didn't show us Jesse, like, convincing him and explaining to him what he was going to do. They let us imagine that, and they let us know that, oh, Jesse was able to convince him to, if you give me your confession, then you'll be able to go to heaven. You'll be able to be with your wife and child. You'll be able to be there in case God ever does come back. And then, however the conversation went, that Jesse convinced him to do that. It's just amazing that we see this saint of killers, this big gigantic guy, go to his knees and give his confession to Jesse. So that's my number 5.
All right, that was awesome though. Yeah, it was a nice scene, and something that comes into play later on too.
Right, it was a good twist, because we don't realize that's what's happening until the end.
Yeah,
when we see him in heaven, and God's like, "Wait a minute, how could you be here?" So,
my number 4 would be Eugene. He still goes through hell, but keeps a hopeful mind. The character has been, like, a constant and innocent throughout the whole, series. the whole show itself. I always love looking at him looking at the positive, in the world, whether it be himself or anything else. But now he's a rock star.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh at that reveal at the hospital when they removed the bandages. They really thought they fixed his face, but then it was like, oh no. But he still looked the same, and he's like, okay. Yeah. I was hoping, honestly, for his face to be fixed and to be a normal kid again, but nope. No.
Yeah, that was, and this was my number 4 as well, as just Eugene, and just the fact that everybody is such a jerk to him, and that doctor who basically comes in and tells him to commit suicide.
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, what? And then Eugene kind of turning the tables on him and going, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be a rock star. And then, of course, we get that quick shot at the end when we see the kid that he has Eugene's face on a T-shirt.
Yeah, when they see Jesus at the
at
the Home Depot or
store.
something with the paint. Yep.
Yeah, and it was so great. I mean, like I cheered when I saw that T-shirt, because I was like, he made it. He got to be his rock star, self. He stayed on the positive. He always was up. And so I really, really liked that the closeout of Eugene's story of getting to see him, have his positive outlook sort of rewarded.
Yeah, and honestly, I always loved the character, and the character itself. If they just dispatched him and in some way it's like, oh, you're going to heaven and that's it. No, I wanted to see him live. I wanted to see him have a full life after that. Mind you, they left him mutilated, but, at least he has some sort of ambition in life and a new resurgence of hope and just being positive as he's always been.
Yeah, I really like that. I think I would have not been dissatisfied if they had just killed him and shown him in heaven, but I'm even more satisfied with the way they ended it. I'm so glad they gave us this kind of ending for him, this upbeat, hopeful ending.
Yeah, it ended on a positive. And I think a lot of this ended on a positive in comparison to most shows.
Yeah, for sure. That brings us to your number 3.
Yes, and that would be God. Seeing him at the end in the camper or RV and his quote-unquote new children wanting to love him, but that wasn't enough. He's tormented to the point of destroying them after Jesse releasing of Genesis. I have to go to my notes about this because honestly, it's weird because what is it? God winds up he wants people to love him.
Yeah,
he wants idolaters. He wants.
It's a little disconcerting for our image of
God.
Of the. So setting aside my personal beliefs.
Yeah, or any belief in God that anybody has.
Yeah.
This version of God is kind of like, oh, okay, he just wanted attention.
Yeah. Well, what they've done is to use a big word, they've anthropomorphized God to being basically a whiny child who was lonely.
Yeah,
and that's why he created That's why he created dinosaurs and then he destroyed them. That's why he created humans and now he wants to destroy them. And it's all about him wanting to be loved. It's all about this idea of he needs the love.
Yeah.
And that's why at the end he can't kill Jesse, because Jesse's like, it's not going to make me love you. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to make me love you of my own free will. Because that's the whole point, was God was like, well, and he said that at the beginning, that he had set up these rules about this free will. And so when Cassidy says, well, why don't you just blow it up yourselves? Why are you doing this elaborate thing? And God's like, well, free will, I've got to follow the rules. Mm-hmm. And so then at the end, he's just chilling there in front of the Alamo when the Grail finds him and they report to Jesse. And this was in my notes as well, is just this confrontation we have between the 2 years later confrontation, which is the first epilogue, is this confrontation. And what I think is a couple of really important things that we see here. Before Jesse releases Genesis, we see him use Genesis on God, and it works. He tells God to make it day, make it night, and then he kind of throws God around using the Genesis power. And then after he releases the power, that's when God's eyes kind of glow, and we think, oh, Jesse's done. But then Jesse's like, no, and he starts punching him and says, I'm still not going to love you. And we see, like you said, God just goes back into the trailer, and then he's hearing all these other creatures that he's created saying that they love him and calling him dad and calling him daddy. And he just starts killing them because because he wants the free will love. He doesn't want
Exactly.
forced love.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like he was getting from these animals. He was getting a more forced love.
Yeah, well, he created them and created them to love him, whereas with humans, he created them to be of free will, but in the end, he just wanted them to love him freely upon their own device. And with Jesse denying it, saying, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to go see a movie. You want to come?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it honestly, it shows, like you said, that this version of God and this interpretation is like, so it's all about himself and how
he's just a whiny child.
He's a whiny child, and everything is like, I want attention, I want attention, I want attention. And I think I said this a long time ago, but you know, it kind of ends up to being this way.
Yeah. So, my number 3, I'll go back briefly to the Cassidy killing Humperdoo, because coupled with that scene, we have Jesus killing Hitler.
Yeah.
And so we see this, and I don't know, I'm sure it was purposely done this way so we could see both aspects of. We see the innocent aspect of Humperdoo being killed, and we see kind of the innocence of Jesus, who all along he's been this very non-violent, non-confrontational person throughout this season. And now he has this violent confrontation with Hitler where he kills, and something dies inside of him.
Oh, yeah.
As well. He loses something there in that moment of killing Hitler. So that was my number 3. Again, it was played really well by Tyson Ritter, seeing those two different characters, and just everything about it was really, really good.
It seemed like Jesus turned real human and learned how to be a human, regardless of, honestly, I don't see Jesus as a killer, but
Right.
I'm just stating that it humanized him in a sense where, we had the whole thing of Mary Magdalene and everything else. It's like, oh, we were just friends and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But they always talked about that. But in this case, it humanized him in the sense that he's now bound to human feelings and thoughts and actions just as anybody else.
Yeah, I think so. And when we see him in the epilogue, we see that he has changed. There is something different about him, just like when he whispers that thing under his breath about the guy with the paint. When he says something like calling the guy a jerk or something under his breath. And you realize that, like you said, Jesus has become humanized, really. So
Yeah. And which makes you think God is human, and we're all right. I'm not going to get into any of that.
Yeah. I think we're to your number 2.
My number 2 would be Jesse. Yeah, my number 2 is Jesse getting the followers of God to track God after he bailed.
Yeah.
Plus seeing Tulip and Jesse 2 years later with their own business and eventually having a child.
Yeah, that was nice. Did you notice, and I'm sure it was meant to be a rhyme, that the name of the place was O'Hare's Auto Repair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was great. O'Hare's Auto Repair. And that they had the Muslim, the bartender guy, hotel owner, was there working for them with that, doing the mechanic stuff on the car.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great to see that kind of epilogue, to see them still doing. I really love that first epilogue because we see them still doing what they've been doing, maybe with a little different twist. They talked about the Rodriguez brothers, and we realize that we think they've stolen something that's like, you know, it's some sort of a criminal thing, or they've robbed a bank or whatever, and you find out, oh no, it's just a carburetor for a 19 whatever car, and they stole it, but they stole it from the Rodriguez brothers, and so now they have these guys with Kalashnikovs and shotguns coming after them, and she's like, you know, I love also that they don't show us what that plan was, but she's like, what do we have? And he's like, I've got an empty gun. And she's like, I've got this and I've got that. And she's like, do you have your lighter? And we've got power lines. And so you see her brain kind of working out this plan.
Yeah.
And I just love that they come back with the carburetor, and then we see that they have a child, they have the daughter, and according to IMDb, I don't know if it was ever actually said on screen, but according to IMDb, the child's name was Lucy.
Lucy, but I thought at the very end, Cassidy stated Jessie.
No, I don't think he was calling her Jessie. I think he was talking about.
Okay.
I think he said, actually, I think you're right. He did say her name, but I think he said Lucy, because I had the closed captioning on. And so I don't think he called her Jessie. I think he called her Lucy.
Yeah, I've been watching it, I watched it like 3 or 4 times, and I thought it was Jessie at the very end. But it could be me.
You might be right. I just know, like I said, I know what IMDb showed. IMDb showed it as Lucy, and I would have to go back and watch that last scene again.
No, anybody could write into IMDb and edit.
Exactly. So it could be anything. But I just really like that fact that we see them having a child, that they lost the child, that God had taken their child away from them. Yeah, and now they have this other one. So that brings us to my number 2.
Yep.
And let me see if we've kind of already talked about it. So let me look at my notes real quick and see if I've got something else I can add. Oh, yeah, I'll make this my number 2. Just Hairstar killing Featherstone, and then apparently he gets away with everything at the end. That really kind of disappointed me a little bit.
Yeah.
That whole thing of showing him on the golf course, and the police find him, and they're going to arrest him, and he wrestles with one of them, and then he falls on the ground, and she thinks he's jerking off, and I didn't realize until the third watch, the cop opens up his jacket and sees his empty holster, and that's when
he realizes
Hairstar rolls over and shoots them, and then we get the last scene, of course, of them being buried in the sand trap there,
and he's still playing his golf too.
Yeah, it just was it disappointed me a little bit that we didn't get some, but that's one of those things that they could, if they ever wanted to come back to it, because I had this in my notes as well, is that they could, they really have 2 periods of time that they can come back to with new stories. They can give us a story within those 2 years before God left.
Yeah.
And Jesse still had Genesis, or they can give us a story in that 40-year span between when God is killed by the saint and Jesse and Tulip die. So they could give us a story that's within that span of time as well, if they ever wanted to come back and do another round of stories or something.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to see that. It'd be nice, like little mini movie if they could, but. Yeah. We won't know unless Seth Rogen and Adam Goldberg actually
Ian. I think it's Ian Goldberg.
Ian. Oh, okay.
Ian. Yeah, I think we misspoke it before. Ethan Goldberg is the Fear the Walking Dead guy. Ian Goldberg. I don't know if they're related or not, but Ian Goldberg is, I believe, I was just watching it the other day, and Ian Goldberg is the name of the guy that's involved with Preacher.
Okay. Yeah. They all seem to be coming together and doing other things, and hopefully the other stuff comes out too that Seth looks to do as far as Image Comics, because we all know that something else is coming out.
So what's your number 1?
My number 1 would be that ending, seeing Cassidy talk to Jesse and Tulip's daughter, and remembering her parents, realizing that they brought up a great kid, and he had nothing left to live for anymore at that point. He lived a few lifetimes. Jesse asking God about different religions at that final scene with God, they were going to hell. If they were actually going to go to hell, and life on other planets, and him saying, it's a bunch of gases, and I was like, really? Jesse? Oh, you don't want those things. What, you think it's a bunch of guys with a bunch that like bugs and shooting at you? And then finally asking about his father being in heaven, and which was, according to God, which was Jesse's original sin, and God did not kill him. God
denied. No, his prayer was that his father wouldn't go to heaven, and God denied that.
Yeah, he denied his prayer.
Which there's a little bit of a confusion here to me about this, that I guess I get kind of what they're trying to say, but at the same time, I'm a little bit like, I don't know where I fall on this, because God makes that comment about he never drank, he never smoked, he never even looked at a Playboy.
Yeah.
And so there's no way I would not let him into heaven, basically saying he was a good person. But didn't he abuse Jesse? Didn't we see that?
He was verbally and physically abusive to Jesse.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a problem
There's
there.
a little bit of hypocrisy right there.
Yeah, that I'm not understanding where this is at here. So, maybe I get it. On the one hand, I also, though, understand that we saw with like the saint of killers making his deathbed confession, and that got him into heaven. And remember, they had that discussion a few episodes ago between Jesus and Hitler, where they were talking about who's going to be allowed into heaven and who's not. And Hitler makes that comment about deathbed confessions, and Jesus says, "Hey, if they repent at the last minute, they're in." And so, which is great. I guess I come back to that idea of
maybe Jesse's father actually repented before he passed away.
Yeah, and that's what. So I get that. It's just the line from God was that the reason he let him in was because of all his good works. And
absolved him of everything else that he did bad in his when on his deathbed after he repented.
Yeah. So I still think there's a little bit. I still have a little bit of an issue, but at the same time, I understand it. At the same time, I just don't. I think the wording of it could have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
From God.
There could be an extended scene for all we know that will come out on Blu-ray, and who knows? Because this episode is a little bit longer than most, but.
Yeah, it was a little bit longer.
But not as much. So they could have gone like 2 hours for all I know.
Yeah.
And then the last part would be, seeing the scene of killers on the throne of heaven.
Yeah. That's another one of those interesting things that I'm torn between which story do I want to see. Do I want to see the 2 years when Jesse still had Genesis, or do I want to see the 40 years where he didn't have Genesis and there's all this other stuff that they could also put in there? Like, what does that mean that the Saint of Killers is sitting on the throne of heaven?
Yeah.
What does that mean for? Especially
since, like, what did he say to God before he killed him?
He says, "I choose violence" or something like that. God's like, you can be whatever, with your wife and child and have
I choose hate or something.
Yeah, he says, "I choose hate" or "I choose violence," something of that resort. And then we have the whole the thing where God has got his electricity getting ready, and obviously the saint outdrew him and shot him first. So so I'm torn between which story do I want to see, and I think I really would rather see what happened during those 40 years, or at some point during those 40 years of Jesse not having Genesis, of the Saints of Killers being on the throne of heaven, and Eugene being a rock star.
Yeah, I think personally, honestly, I would have loved just to see the Saint of Killers just sitting there, and then just God just walking away, and then the Saint of Killers just being on the throne, and then it just ends at the idea of Jesse's daughter and Cassidy walking away and burning.
Yeah, and this was my number one. Also, was just that conversation they have between Cassidy and Jesse and Tulip's daughter, where she says something like, and obviously she knew him from stories that her mom and dad told.
Yeah,
that she may have never actually met him, because she says something about why did you never come back, and he's like, I just got caught up in other things. But I truly, so again, that's another story that they could tell, was give us something of Cassidy maybe having a secret meeting with Jesse and Tulip, where he tells them he's not going to come around anymore or something. I don't know.
Or
But
he's been there and they just never told the daughter at all, and they had their own little side little.
But it was just really
things,
poignant to see him hang his umbrella on that gravestone and then walk out. And I love how the camera work there was they blurred out the background just enough so that we can still see him and we can see what's happening to him behind her, but we also can realize that she's doesn't see it. She doesn't.
Yeah, she's
doesn't
not.
know it's happening.
Know exactly what's going on, and it makes me question. It's like, okay, I have deep down, I think she knew that he was a vampire, and that's why. But obviously, he stated he was always 150 years old. But
no, for sure. I'm sure she knew he was a vampire. No, there's no doubt in my mind that she didn't, because he says your mom shot me in the chest twice. I drank battery acid or whatever, killed dozens of angels and all that kind of thing. And so no, I'm with you. She for sure knew he was a vampire. So but she also knew that he had that umbrella. I don't know. It was a really good scene. It was really a great way to close out the series, seeing that he realized. And I paused it to see they died a year apart.
Yeah.
It says that Tulip died in 2064 and Jesse died in 2065. So there was a little bit of time also between Jesse and Tulip passing away. They passed away at different times.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of quotes before we get to notes here.
Sure.
And I really loved that at the beginning. And every time I leapt out of my chair the first time that he said it was when Jesse, the saint, is getting ready to kill Jesse. And he says, "Go on, but I'm telling you, the parents will not be happy." And then suddenly the saint turns around and there's the angel and the demon parents of Genesis standing right there. So I just love that line,
That makes sense, though. Mine would be Cassidy saying, "What is this? What's with all the bagpipes and bells? Why not just blow it up yourself?" And then God just turned around going, "That's cheating. You have to play your part. Free will, that's the fun." And he uses "that's the fun" with like a demonic or, godly style voice, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved at the end of the first epilogue when they're trying to decide how they're going to defeat the Rodriguez brothers, and she says, and I realized that the second or third time that she says she yells at them to blow me, and Jesse says, I can make them blow each other. So, I just thought that was great that they still have that banter kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of notes here that we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Mine would be, I thought it was funny that God had a girl in the RV when Jesse finally found him. Just camped outside the Alamo. And then her asking God if he wanted something from the Piggly Wiggly. And she was like, wow, it's like, I'm not going to say tramp or whatever, but it's like, she looked like casual, ordinary, regular girl. It's like going about her own business and having a good time. Yeah. And that's who God was hanging out with at the RV.
Yep. Yeah. I loved it. Was a very quick line that Cassidy lumping in our trio with Churchill, Lincoln, and Frodo Baggins about saving the world. And Jesse's like, Frodo's fictional. Is he the little guy who lived with the wizard? And just seeing this character of Cassidy who knows so much about the Lord of the Rings, like a nerd, going, no, he didn't live. The wizard didn't live with him.
He had a lot of time to read.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
The next part would be God waiting for Humper to dance, but also to be bombarded with questions from all the fans in the audience.
Yeah, that was great. And then he tells him, "Why don't you go see what's keeping him?"
Yeah, exactly.
I noticed a couple of when Jesse released the Grail people after they found God, a couple of them fall to the ground dead, as if they were either dead or already dying before they were given this mission. As soon as they were released from this mission, they just died. I thought that was weird. But I'm a little disappointed And maybe, like you said, maybe there's going to be a deleted scene where we get this. And if I ever am at a con where Seth Rogen or any of the other people involved with this show I get a chance to ask a question, I'm going to ask them if the Saint of Killers was Cain, because I still don't understand why God would be talking about that relationship between Cain and Abel, and then there's no payoff of that later on in the episode. So I really was a little disappointed we didn't get that confirmation, but that's okay.
Yeah, we should bombard Seth Rogen on his Twitter and just ask him.
So we did get one piece of feedback for this podcast from Daphne B. Do you want to go ahead and read?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so this comes from Daphne B. This was submitted on our Facebook page, and she just said, I watched the finale yesterday. Preacher has been off the rails in the most wonderful way this season, and I'm happy with the finale. So I think there was closure for all of the characters. So thank you, Daphne, for that, and I look forward to hearing from you during our Watchmen podcast here in a few weeks.
All right. Well, we already talked about the series as a whole, because that was regarding God himself. Mm-hmm. There is no comic talk this week because a lot of things are going on. Because honestly, we're doing this on Saturday the 5th on October 2019, and New York Comic Con is at the moment, and there's a lot of stuff coming out. So I haven't been able to really grasp a ton of information yet, but we'll bring that up later on in another podcast. But a lot's been going on. Obviously, we know Spider-Man's back from Sony and is doing its deal. There's a whole bunch of Walking Dead news. Lauren Cohan's coming back, hopefully for season 11 of The Walking Dead. We don't know, but there's a lot of things coming up, and we'll bring that up come next podcast.
Exactly.
So, Steve, how could they submit their feedback?
Well, Mark, thank you for asking. We can be heard on Spotify, Google Play, Apple iTunes, or whatever podcast player of choice you use. And if there's a review on there, throw us a review. We'll read it because we see those reviews most of the time, and we would read that as part of feedback. You can also send us feedback through our Facebook page, which is Panels to Pixels, which is facebook.com/panels2pixels. We also have a website, which is panels2pixelspodcast.com, and an email address. You can email us at panels2pixels1@gmail.com. That's panels2pixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle, and the number 1 at gmail.com. You can also send us a voicemail that way as well. Or you can call us and leave a voicemail on our voicemail line, which is 845-350-2095. Again, that's 845-350-2095. So call us up, leave us some feedback, tell us what you want to hear next. We do plan on, in a few weeks or a couple of weeks, we'll be reviewing the first episode of Watchmen when it drops on October 20th. So look for that after October 20th. That podcast will probably drop the next week, probably just like Preacher, since they were both Sunday night shows. We'll probably be dropping those podcasts 1 week after the episode airs. Look forward to the show Watchmen, and just watch our Facebook page for any other things we might be doing in the next 3 weeks.
Exactly. And for those of you who are Walking Dead fans, I will be at Walker Stalker Atlanta come October 18th. And throughout the whole weekend. So if you see me, and obviously you must have an image or something from me from this, Facebook site. I do take pictures, so just tap me on the shoulder, say, "Hey, I'm here," and we could talk. I'll be on the floor. I have media press passes, so I'll be there interviewing people on the floor. So if I can interview, that would be awesome. I would love to interview anybody who listens to us or just has any information regarding The Walking Dead, and which will segue into where you could hear us elsewhere, and you could hear me. I am a co-host on The Walking Dead Talk Through with Brian Malash on Talk Through Media. We actually review The Walking Dead each week. This show will stay on the Next Level Podcast Network, which is Panels to Pixels. It will be on the Next Level Podcast Network. But there will be a link for Talk Through Media for others to listen to as well. So listen to us on talkthroughmedia.com. or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We are currently working on a lot of things right now. The Talk Through Media website is going crazy. Brian is in the middle of trying to take care of everything that's going on in the future show called Picardcast, which is about the new show Star Trek Picard. So, he'll be dealing with that. I'm hoping to jump in on that. I think Steve might.
Yes.
So once we're asked to be on the show, we'll actually be on there as well. Just providing a little additional voice and views, because I've been looking forward to the idea of Patrick Stewart coming back as Picard. So keep in touch here or go to the talkthroughmedia.com website, and we'll hear from you then.
Yes, and you can hear me on various other podcasts that I send voicemails to. At the moment, a couple of podcasts that I've been sending in voicemails are taking some breaks and things, but as always, you can hear my voice on different places and other podcasts.
Yeah, Steve's on multiple platforms. You'll hear him on Podcast. You'll hear him on Next Level Podcast Network, or just here. So, he'll be everywhere. So you can't avoid Steve.
I won't be in Atlanta, though.
Oh, unfortunately, yeah.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish he was there, too. Same thing with Brian. Brian cannot make it as well. So I will be there, and I'm hoping to do a panel, and we'll see if that happens. And I will let you all know if that happens sometime soon. So, but thanks for everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Panels to Pixels, everybody. Good night.
Good night.